Hey there, Transformers fans. Smitty coming at you with another Transformers review. So today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege Battle Masters Wave 1. Got the whole wave, and because each figure is pretty small and pretty simple, I'm going to do the whole wave all at once right now, starting with Blowpipe. Blowpipe is based on the G1 character of the same name. He's blue and gray. He's got some paint on his face, some green and yellow. Let's see if we can get that to focus. A little Decepticon symbol there on his chest. Unfortunately, because of how he transforms, he also has a huge 5mm peg sticking out of the front of his chest. And a pretty substantial backpack, but that can pop off, similar to the Prime Masters, and you can attach it to his arm as a arm-mounted weapon. He also includes this yellow blast effect, which could look like a round impacting something or a large caliber round coming out of a weapon. That's a neat little add-on, and the other Siege figures are going to have pegs where you can mount these on so you can make it look like they're being shot. Moving on, we have Fire Drive. And again, he's pretty basic, simple, 2 colors of plastic, some red paint on his face and chest, and a tiny little Autobot symbol, which I can't get to focus on his helmet there. Just like Blowpipe, he's got the backpack. Luckily, though, his 5mm peg sticks out of the back, and with the backpack folded down, backpack folded down, it's hardly noticeable at all. As you saw, the backpack, like Blowpipes, can pop off and peg onto his arm for an arm-mounted weapon. Unfortunately, these weapons that they've come up with for the Battle Masters, at least in the case of these two, they're so big that they can't really stand up while they're using them. Fire Drive came with 2 of the same little pinkish purple blast effects. These definitely look more like a laser firing than anything else, so while you could put this on the larger figures when they do eventually come out, or when you eventually manage to get one of these Battle Masters, putting these anywhere but on the tip of a gun probably isn't going to look that great. And last, but certainly not least, we have Lionizer. Now, this is I think this is the official way to do it according to the instructions, which I threw away, unfortunately. But you can also fold it back part of the way to get it more like a tail, and like the other ones, it also pops off and has a little peg on the end. It doesn't quite fit anywhere, though. There's nowhere on Lionizer for that peg to go either. Let's try it on Blowpipe. Well, you gotta force it a little bit, but yeah, it fits. So, you just need to put a little, yeah. Unfortunately, it's just a sword sticking out of the side of his arm. It doesn't seem all that useful as a weapon. Very interesting. Anyways, Lionizer is a lion of some sort. It doesn't really seem to have much of a mane, so maybe Lionizer is a lioness or a mountain lion, which is not really a lion, or some other kind of big cat that is not very well named. To transform Lionizer, fold its tail all the way down so it sticks straight back like that. You bring the front legs up and over the top, and the back legs underneath, and there is a tab on the front paw that will go into a little slot on the back hip, and it'll clip together. Then you take the head, you swing it down and in to reveal a 5mm peg that larger Transformer figures can hold. Lionizer doesn't come with a blast effect, but instead this weird blue swooshing effect. It doesn't look bad. It actually does look pretty cool if you put it in a figure's hand and pose them just right. It does look like, you know, it gives a little action to your static action figure, you know. It just looks cool. It doesn't seem like it'd be very useful for much of anything else other than sticking on the trailing edge of a sword. Now, back to Blowpipe and eventually Fire Dive. Like I said, they can, as of course, they can transform. They both transform into guns. Pretty much the same way. Blowpipe, you fold his backpack over his head, which remains visible. Swing his lower torso up, and then bring his legs around. And there's little tabs on the insides of his arms that tab into his hips to get a more solid connection. And that's Blowpipe in gun mode. And again, you can attach the blast effect so it looks like he's shooting. The smaller barrel, I don't know if that's a excuse me, I don't know if that's supposed to be a barrel or if this is supposed to resemble like a gas-cooled weapon, and that's the gas port. But if you've been collecting Transformers through at least part of the Prime Wars trilogies, you probably got yourself a Trigger Happy, and Blowpipe goes with Trigger Happy. And no, the colors don't match at all. Well, except for, no, none of the colors match, but it does look good in his hand. The weapon is a pretty good size for any Deluxe or Voyager. Anything bigger than a Voyager, this gun is going to start to look really small. Anything smaller than a Deluxe, it's going to start to throw the figure off balance. But now you can have what some fans might call a proper, complete Trigger Happy with bonus blast effects, so he can shoot you in the face. And of course the same is true for Fire Drive. We'll just take that off, put it back on the clip here. It folds over his head and actually covers his face. Then again, the legs do the same thing. They swing forward at the hips, tab into the barrels, and the arms tab in to the hips. For Fire Drive and gun mode, he's got some molded details on his feet, little tiny missile batteries or grenade launchers or whatever, use your imagination to come up with. And like I said, if you've been collecting for any amount of time, you have at least one version of Hot Rod. Deluxe Titans Returns Hot Rod does look pretty good holding this. It doesn't look so good with Power of the Prime's Rodimus Prime. It's too big of a figure for such a small gun, but the smaller Inner Robot does look good holding this weapon. if you have any version of Hot Rod, you don't really need Fire Dive to complete him, and he doesn't do much other than give him a gun for robot mode. But it is nice to say that, oh, these figures are now more complete now because they have their Target Master partners from the original Transformers toy line. Unfortunately, Lionizer originally came with an Action Master, so there really isn't anyone you can give him to, except for you can give him to anyone. So I've been using Prowl. Colors are pretty decent looking with Prowl. I mean, Lionizer's black and gray, so he's not really going to look too bad in anyone's hand as far as colors go. And like I said, you get the pose just right, and it's a nice swishing effect that Lionizer comes with. Looks like Prowl is really swinging that sword. I still find it very odd that the actual blade can pop out and be a smaller sword for smaller figures, because so far the only way for the other Battle Masters to hold this is to stick it in the side of their arm. Also, another interesting thing I found is if you look at the blade of the sword, it's not just the blade of a sword, it also appears to be the barrel of a gun. So if you rotate Lionizer 90 degrees in the hand of a figure, and then rotate it downward 90 degrees, you get a makeshift gun mode for Lionizer with the switch effect that doesn't look that great, but just pop that off, and you have a pretty decent looking rifle for your figures. It's actually the butt of a cat.